I would like to go ahead and get our regular city council meeting started. It is 7 p.m. So for the regular city council meeting of Monday, October 11th, if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Mannion. Pratt.
Here.
Bellinger.
Here.
Grimes.
Here.
Gilroy.
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
We did receive an email earlier today. Barb was kind enough to print it out, and Councilman Lanning is not able to be here this evening due to unseen circumstances, and so I would accept a motion to excuse his absence for this evening.
I'll make a motion to excuse Councilman Lanyon.
All right, thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Next, we have an approval of our agenda for this evening, if there's no changes that need to be made.
I will make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
All right, do I have support?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, moving along, we have opportunity for audience participation with a maximum of 5 minutes per presentation. All right, no one coming forward. Now we have a very special recognition. We have a 100th birthday recognition. I think this is about my third centurion that I've done and that the council has been able to honor. And I know that our celebrant is not here, but I would like to read it and recognize. I believe you are.
I'm his daughter, Bronwyn Cobb.
Wonderful.
Yes, so.
Well, thank you, Bronwyn, for being
Well,
here.
thank you.
Yeah, so I'd like to go
So
ahead and read
nice.
this for our viewing audience. Whereas Stanley Krupa will be honored by friends and relatives on the occasion of his 100th birthday. He was born on October 18, 1921, and has been a resident of this community since 1992. And whereas Mr. Krupa is a World War II veteran, serving in both North Africa and Italy. And whereas Mr. Krupa is a General Motors retiree, working in plant protection, and is a member of the UAW. And whereas he and his wife Alice had 3 children, Bronwood married to Richard, Joseph and Thomas, and 2 granddaughters, Jillian married to Sean, and Alexis engaged to Neil. Mr. Krupa and his wife moved to Williamston in 1992 to be closer to family and fell in love with the community. One of his favorite memories is of walking his granddaughters to school, and to this day he loves to see families using the footbridge over the river out his back porch window. And whereas he is a huge sports fan and quickly adopted the Williamston Hornets as his home team, up until just a few years ago, it wouldn't be uncommon to see him catching a quarter at the football game. And even now, he's the family go-to for the source of sports scores, and whereas he is a soft-spoken man, but what he lacks in bravado, he makes up for his actions. His neighbors can attest to his willingness to help in any way he can, and we all wish we had a neighbor like Stan. He has lived during the most eventful century of the world's history. And so now let it be resolved that the City Council of the City of Williamston expresses its honor and pleasure to extend this certificate of recognition on this 11th day of October 2021 to Stanley Krupa on the occasion of his 100th birthday, with sincere congratulations and best wishes on his special day and every day thereafter.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Now, we are missing a council member for this evening, but we will get that signed by that council member as soon as possible to get that into your hands so that you can take it. Our city staff will be in contact with you so that you know when to pick it up. But do you mind just saying a few quick words about your dad?
Oh, gosh. He's just the kindest man and the best neighbor. And he was a wonderful grandfather. My parents moved here really to help take care of our children. And I worked in the schools and they were wonderful, devoted grandparents, and they were of course wonderful parents. So he just loves life.
Great. So what type of big celebration do you have?
Well, not as big as it was for his 90th and 95th. We did big family parties.
Okay.
But this time, we're gonna do some going out to eat and a small party. He's in rehab right now. He had a little fall,
Okay.
but he's doing much better. And so we're gonna do a celebration at the rehab too, but we'll take him out to dinner, and all our relatives are sending, he loves to see photos of what everybody's doing, so they're sending photos
Great.
and cards.
Wonderful.
So,
Well, thank you
yes.
so much for being here this
well,
evening.
thank you, this is so nice.
Yeah, and please extend our best wishes and happy birthday, and maybe send us a photo of him. That would
Thank
be
you.
fantastic.
I know, had it been a couple years ago, he would have walked down here. And he would have,
Absolutely.
right?
Well, that would be great, if you would love to send a photo to city staff so that they can share it with us as he celebrates.
Oh, that would be great.
That would be great.
That'll be wonderful, I will do that.
Thank you so much.
Does the
Thank
city
you.
council do applause?
Yeah, absolutely. That was very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, moving right along on our agenda, we have the council meeting minutes of September 27th. If there's no changes to be made, I'm looking for a motion to approve those.
I make a motion to approve as submitted council meeting minutes.
Thank you. Do I have support?
Second.
All right, both of you. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. All right. Noah, you had opportunity to review accounts payable for this evening.
Yes, I did, and after going through all the large file of bills and receivables, everything looked great.
All right.
I didn't have any major questions, so I didn't bother sending an email to anybody, but if
Okay.
anybody has any questions, please let me know. But with that being said, I'd like to approve check 74758 dated 9/24, through check of 74798 dated 10/1, ACH 144 through 149, and a total of $2,528,142.59.
All right.
And I
Thank
got
you.
it right.
You did great, thanks Noah. Do I have support for that motion? Thank you so much. If there's no discussion or questions regarding accounts payable, I will go ahead and ask Barb to call the roll, please.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
All right.
And then Corey, you can take that, all that stuff.
Next on the agenda is council interviews, and Jacob, you've been here before, and we've got your application in the packet. I'm not sure if there's, if you'd like to come up and address council again.
If you have any questions or anything, like, yeah, pretty much what I've been before. I've been involved in the community over in Kalamazoo, when I was working over community options and involved in the events and a lot of the stuff going on in town. And when I was over here, I got some of that opportunity and privilege as well. And I would just love to be involved and contribute in this town. I've been living in this wonderful town now for several years now. I really like to get involved and really help make it a better place.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, moving on to our action items. The first item on the action list is council member appointment. And I just want to make council aware that I did reach out to City Attorney Tim Perrone, because I asked him in regards to the dates, the window of opportunity for applicants. And if you'll remember, we did not meet our first meeting of September because of power outage, and that would have been when we would have accepted the resignation for Councilman Weiss and started that 60-day clock that our charter designates. We did not meet until the second meeting of September, which was September 27th. So I asked Attorney Perrone for an opinion with regard to this short window of time from September 27th until October 1st. We do only have one applicant for this evening, and I'm not sure if that is fair to us as council, because it's a single applicant and not a pool of applicants. So I'd like to ask Tim to weigh in on this, please.
Yes, it is correct that the resignation was dated August 23rd after the August meetings and did not have a specific date for when it would become effective. And under the common law, as supported by a U.S. Supreme Court case out of Michigan, and as more recently confirmed by an Attorney General opinion, specifically with regard to a resignation from a city commission, similar to a city council. The resignation of a sitting member of the council does not become effective until it is formally accepted by the city council or the city council takes steps to fill the vacancy. That's because there's also a line of cases that says if someone tenders their resignation from an elective office and then changes their mind before it's accepted, they can withdraw it and retain their seat. So in this case, although it was dated August 23rd, the resignation was accepted September 27th, and it is on that date, under the common law interpretation, that the vacancy was created. And under the charter, council has 60 days to fill a vacancy. So there's got to be a vacancy first before the 60-day clock begins to run. And so that would take you to November 26th. And so there would be several meetings between now and November 26th. If you were concerned that perhaps there could be a challenge to the common law interpretation of when a vacancy arises, council would still have time before 60 days from August 23rd even to hold a special meeting. And I believe the date for that would be August 22nd. So under the view that I was indicating, you had until November 26th, but it should probably be your regular meeting in advance of that date.
Correct.
Or if you were very concerned, by October 22nd could be a special meeting. Although you do have, I guess you don't have a regular meeting until October 25th.
Correct. So with that being said, council, I mean, I wanted to make sure that I did my due diligence, and that's why I sent the email to city manager and to city attorney, because I feel that we need to be impartial, be fair, and a week and a half from September 27th until today's meeting didn't really give us, I don't believe, enough time to publicize that there was an open seat. So I'm looking for recommended motion on this to either table it indefinitely and extend that deadline until a true 60-day, which is November 26th, or I'm open to hearing discussion by council.
From my point of view, I think it would be a good recommendation to reach out again, since it was such a short window,
Okay.
to the community, because there's several people I know that were interested, and I don't even know if they realized that we had an opening in the last.
A second opening.
Second opening.
The second opening.
Yeah, 'cause we just got
Correct.
this one, so.
Correct.
And no offense, but I'd like to see if those people still might be interested, and we could reach out to those
Sure.
individuals.
Bring in a pool, so I would accept your motion then, if that is
Okay.
your motion.
I will make that motion.
Okay, and I'm looking for support.
Second.
All right, thank you. If there's no other discussion,
Do we have to set, do we have to set an application deadline now, or?
that's a good question, because this is October 11th. Are you pulling up your calendar, Barb, so that you can give me dates? So if we were to accept applications through the first meeting of November, because we have a window of time, it would be the November 8th,
So, yeah, so
Meeting.
we need them by November 3rd then.
unless we want to do the 2-week window now, which goes to our next October meeting. So I'm open to that discussion right now for dates.
Sounds like the November 3rd date makes the
Eight.
most of eight.
Well, it would be the November 3rd prior to the
Would be the
November 8th,
deadline.
so the
Yeah.
3rd,
Yeah.
okay.
His time.
Okay, all right, so, friendly amendment,
Friendly amendment taken.
all right, and support?
Second.
All right, thank you. If there's no other discussion then, Barb, would you call the roll for this motion of postponing till council, or accepting council applications until November 3rd for agenda item of November 8th?
And we still maintain the existing one in the packet.
Yes, we still would
So
retain
I'll let
this,
you-
we still would retain this
You don't have to
application.
apply again.
That's good.
Interviews on November 8th or the decision at November 22nd?
Do we want to do November 22nd, or would we want to take a vote on November 8th?
I thought we were gonna have review on November.
We can do interviews on November 8th and then take a vote on November 22nd.
Sounds like it makes sense.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
time to think on it.
Yep, all right, good calendar, I agree. Thank you, council. Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. All right. We have our second reading on the ordinance for parking regulations. And Corey, this is a second reading. Have there been any changes made since our last meeting? Council members, do you have any questions regarding this parking ordinance? Okay. Then I am looking for, we have a requested motion by Corey in our packet, so I'm looking for that motion.
Just a question
Yes.
to Chief. Have we had any other concerns or anybody step forward, or have you had other communications from the public relating to the second reading?
No, sir.
Okay.
All right, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading and adoption of an ordinance to amend the City of Williamston Code of Ordinances by revising Chapter 66, Article 4 as to parking regulations.
Thank you. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy.
Yes. All right. Next, we have Information Technology Managed Services Agreement, and we have Rachel here this evening. Thanks for your memo, Rachel, and I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay, basically, just the information is in front of you. We have been a customer of IT Rate since 2007, and they have not increased our rate since that date in 2007. When I met with them I guess it was summertime, they talked about how they're switching the way their billing works, and they are going to a per seat billing instead of a flat fee. And for the city of Williamston, our per seat is the $18,000 that they proposed. Corey and I talked about it, and we kind of went back and forth on what to do with it. We've been relatively happy with their service over the years, but bottom line, we kind of came up with this decision that because we haven't bid it out in so long and we don't know what other companies and options are out there, we thought it would be a good due diligence to put together an RFP and give it out there and see who else was available and what services they could provide. I can tell you that we did not receive any other bids.
Okay.
But IT Rate did provide me with, I think, 3 or 4 other community bids that they went through the same process I did. And IT Rate was the low bid on each one of those. And so I felt pretty confident that while it is a large increase for us, it's probably still a cost savings if we were to go out to another company and get those services provided. I think I did include in there that I got an email from a gentleman that had reached out and said that they didn't meet the qualifications in the bid. Because we have a police department, we have certain things that the IT company has to be able to do for us, and they have to be lean certified, and some of the companies I don't think were either they weren't interested, they didn't think they could be competitive, or they didn't meet those qualifications that we do require for having a police department.
Okay. And with this significant increase, we're okay in our budget?
So we will need to do a budget amendment. However, back in 2019 now, the police department came into possession of some IT equipment that was new in the box, and we were able to sell that to IT Right for credit. We received credit in the year of 2000, so we didn't pay for IT services to them in the year 2000, and so we still have a credit left with them.
Okay.
So I'm not ready to make a recommendation on a budget amendment, but that will be forthcoming.
Great. Questions for Rachel?
I'm sorry, 2020.
2020, okay.
Yeah.
So Rachel, if you really think about it, if this goes back to 2007 and we had just an average 3% increase for all those years, would that
It was
Number of
really
years, that would
close.
be 42% increase
Yeah.
in the total
Yes,
cost of this.
yes, so really, when you look at it that way, and had they been charging us an increase annually, we really wouldn't be
Yeah.
probably even discussing it, because our purchasing policy does not require us to go out to bids for professional services, and this is something that I think we can consider a professional service. But because of so much has changed in the IT world since 2007, we just wanted to do due diligence and make sure we were getting the most bang for our buck.
Excellent.
How many years do you think this will carry forward?
So this one is for three years. We're locked in for 3 years, and then we'll talk to them. They have really increased their communication with us, I'd say in the last year. We're doing quarterly on-site visits for them to kind of take a look and clean things up, make sure that we're doing everything we can to be secure on-site. And then we also have someone that I'm meeting with on Wednesday for a quarterly overview of the entire system. So I've been really impressed with how they've done that and kind of assigned us a specific top-level person to go to with these types of things. So we'll have an ongoing conversation more than we have in the past.
Okay, so this is support, so it keeps the IT stuff working, but it's also cybersecurity, so we don't get hacked by some guy in Iran someplace and get held hostage.
Exactly. And what do we do if we do get hacked?
And
Who do
If we get
call?
hacked, these guys will help us.
Absolutely. We actually had an incident back in 2018 or 19, I can't remember which now, time flies, where we did have a breach. And we were down for half a day maybe, and they were able to get us back up and functioning. There were some things that took a little bit longer to convert back over, but I think for a breach, half a day is pretty minimal in the IT world for what we deal with.
the only other question I have, Rachel, would be, what about if we have to go, what do you want to call it, dark again, but we go back to remote working? They still help with the setups at the homes to make sure we're
Absolutely.
security and we're all set
Yep.
for remote services?
Yes, so in March 2020, when the world shut down, our first call was IT Right, and we basically, I remember sitting with Corey saying, we've got to figure this out. We can't be shut down. We still have to be able to function somehow. And so my first call was to their person, and they set us up immediately, got us a new router that would do the things we needed it to do. Secure sign-ins, everything. They've supported us. Barb can probably attest to it as well from working from home. They don't know if I'm at home or not. They just help me with whatever I'm on. So it works out really
So
well.
that was the VPN and the Cisco management stuff, okay?
Mhm, yes.
So there's 30 seats, how many are their police department, how many are regular, or the city itself?
I really couldn't tell you. I don't know what the breakdown is because it's police that's here, it's DPW, it's out at our wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
It's some of the equipment that they have in their vehicles. It's some equipment Scott has in their vehicles, so it's really a good mix of all of us.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'm looking for that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the information technology managed service quote from IT Right in the amount of $18,000 annually for 2022 to 2024.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. I've got a motion and support. Any other discussion? Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Pratt,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
All right. Rachel, this is you again. We have next the fund balance policy.
Okay, so this is something that we talked about in the spring, when we were budgeting and when we, talked about excess funds and what to do with them. And at the time, we talked about drafting this policy and coming up with, kind of a roadmap for what do we do when there is excess funds? And how much are we comfortable saying should be for excess only, for our rainy day fund? A lot of people in my profession, the recommended is 30% of your expenditures, which is what this policy would do would be setting general fund to 30% of expenditures. And then what do we do, let's classify those fund balances, because you can have assigned fund balance where we're gonna specifically set this aside for this project, knowing we're not gonna spend it for a couple of years, but we're building that, we're conscientiously building that up. And so I think when we work through the budget process this year, you're gonna see us looking at assigning some things for specific projects. North Putnam Street comes to mind specifically. And so really coming up with a policy on how we wanna classify those funds, what we're gonna do with excess, what our minimums are gonna be, and then how do we spend it if we're over that, what are we gonna do to prioritize the spending of that?
Excellent. I know there's questions.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
What percentage of our current expenditures goes into the fund balance up till now? As opposed to 30?
I think I wanna say we're at like 70% fund balance right now. Does that sound about right, Courtney?
Yeah, I think so. We're at about 70, but the thing you gotta know about that, Tommy, is it took probably like 6 to 7 years
To get
to
there.
get there. So every year where there was a little bit more revenue than expenditures, over time that builds up to our current position, which is very sound. And a good example of what Rachel was talking about is we applied and did not get, but we applied for that Category B fund, which was strictly for road resurfacing. And so had we gotten that, we would have used a chunk of the general fund's fund balance to get a 50% grant. So that would be a good example where, you know, now that we have a pretty healthy fund balance, it's about making sure that that's being used wisely, and that, you know, I can use this example, the next city manager with the next council, you know, doesn't think, oh my gosh, we've got lots of money to add XYZ for operations, when really you should be looking at like one-time projects with that money.
Other questions? Dan, I see you thinking. No? No? Okay.
And the other thing,
Just a comment, it seems very prudent.
it does.
That's a smart idea.
I just think that it's really good planning on our part to say, like with Corey saying, you know, the next city manager and the next council saying, oh, we've got all this excess money. Well, okay, we do, but this policy says you're gonna hold on to 30% of that, no matter what. And so that's just kind of, that's like our safe net, if you will. And future councils can do other things, but at least we know sitting here that we did a policy that says 30% is our bare minimum, and anything over that we can take a look at budgeting wise. There's a lot of irons in the fire, if you will, on ways to spend money. And so when we look at budgeting this spring, we can say we've got X number of dollars that we could actually put towards these different projects, and then we can actually assign them so that it's there in fund balance, but it's in a different category, so it's not this big total at the end that people see and say, oh, let's spend that.
Right.
It's allocated to different projects.
I do think this is very prudent, and I'm glad you went forward and have put this all together, because like Corey said, we have, you know, we have a new city manager that's gonna be coming in the next few months, and this is kind of a roadmap as to how we wanna be fiscally. That's something that prior councils and this council have worked for to get that fund balance, so then we have the possibility to match grants and whatnot, and we, you know, it's a good roadmap.
Right, well, and I think we've seen more so over the past 4 or 5 years that a lot of these grants come with conditions of matching funds. And so probably, you know, 10 years ago, we've not been able to do that. And so I'm so glad that you guys came back full circle on this and kept the discussion going from spring till now and brought something forward for us. And I think it's a great plan, and, you know, like we've all said here, Corey has put together, you know, over the past 3 years, he's really done a lot so that this new city manager with city staff that have been working hand in hand with Corey, it's gonna be a great transition, and it's just another testament to how well our city staff works to make sure that we're doing right by the funds we bring in. So thank you, Rachel. And so with that being said, I'm looking for this very small motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the City of Williamston fund balance policy.
Thank you.
And I'll support it.
Thank you very much. If there's no further discussion, Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Bellinger,
Yes.
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt.
Yes.
Okay, one thing that we do not have in our packet, but this is more of just comment and discussion, is the appointment of the city manager resume review committee. And I have reached out and spoken with Noah and Dan. I've asked them to be on the committee with myself because we have familiarity going back to 3 years ago when we did this. And so I know that Holly sent out to us the questions and the process. And again, just to reiterate what Holly mentioned in her email, that is to be kept confidential. That's for our eyes only. But as we start receiving those resumes in, the committee will go ahead and review them, make sure that we have a strong candidate pool, and then we'll set in motion the calendar for when we want to do interviews. But what I would like to suggest is if you have any questions after you go through and review those questions, if there's something you feel is lacking or that you'd like to add for consideration of a question, to bring that forward. So with that, the motion would be appointing a review committee of Councilman Gilroy, Councilman Bellinger, and Councilman Rhines. So that is the motion I am looking for.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Rhines,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bellinger.
Sure, yes.
Thank you. And as we continue to move forward in this whole process, we'll have more discussion on it at other council meetings. But the position has been posted on several different websites, specifically MML. And I think there was one other one, Corey.
It's called SGR Jobs. It's
Okay.
like more of a national.
Okay. And we have it on the city main page as well, all right? With that, we're going on to our last two action items, and Scott is not here this evening, so Corey, you're gonna be handling this. And the first is the wastewater treatment plant 2022 through 2024 biosolids hauling and land application contract.
Thank you, I'll do my
Yep.
best Scott impression this evening.
Great.
So we were coming off a 3-year contract, what we've often called our sludge hauling contract. The current, or I guess the former contractor had the option with us to extend. They elected not to. They didn't want to hold that pricing again for 3 years. So we went out and got a couple bids. The two bids were actually the same two companies that bid in 2018. You can see the bid results there. Michigan Agribusiness is the low bidder. That is the current company, and their rate in the first year is a 5.75% increase over their rate that was 2018 to 2021. So just like, a little bit like we saw with IT Right, you know, they held a rate for 3 years. The rate is going up. They are proposing a escalation in each of the 3 years, similar to what the other bidder did as well. So the way Scott has estimated the not to exceed price is he's taken the estimated quantity and multiplied that by the rates to give you a sense of what that could look like in a year. There's also a fee for the testing. The sludge has to be tested before it can be applied. Eventually it ends up usually on like a farm field somewhere. And in order to do that, you have to get approval from the state of Michigan. So there's testing involved in there. And then he also noted that there is a price escalator on the diesel fuel. And so he's incorporated that as well in that not to exceed price. So he's looking for approval for the 3-year contract.
All right.
As requested.
There's some discrepancies in this proposal.
Okay.
It's addressed to Steve and David, but at Williamston Township on Zimmer Road. And it's for Williamston Township biosolid sludge proposal. So
Can we follow up on that and make sure that we get the correct letter?
Yeah, that's incorrect, that should be the city of Williamston.
Yeah.
Mr. David is our wastewater
Yes.
treatment plant superintendent.
So, all right, yeah, if we could have them just correct that and make sure that they're proposing those prices for the city of Williamston and not the township, that would be great, thank you, Tim. Tim, with that being said, do we need to table this because of the rates to make sure that we get the same correct rates in a corrected letter, or are we comfortable that it was a typo?
Well, I think you could approve the contract at these rates.
Okay,
And then get the corrected proposal
okay.
if there's.
And Corey, if
there's
they were to
anything
send
sign.
something back and it is not the same, then
Yeah,
we'll have to bring it back.
I really think it just,
Is a typo?
people confuse cities and townships.
Okay.
They shouldn't have because they have our contract, but they
Right.
did. The township does not operate a wastewater treatment plant.
Right.
so.
Okay, all right, yeah, if we could do that, so I would look for a motion to approve the rates, and then with Corey following up and getting a corrected letter, just to make sure that it designates the city of Williamston.
Make a motion to approve wastewater treatment 2022-2024 biosolids hauling and land application contract with the follow-up to change, to fix the typo.
You're gonna have to read the actual recommended motion, because it's got the dollar amount in it, Terry.
Okay. Approve award the contract for hauling and land application of biosolids for the City of Williamston wastewater treatment plant to Michigan Agribusiness Solutions LLC for an amount not to exceed $39,000 per year. Term of the contract shall be through December 31st of 2024.
Thank you. Do I have support? Support. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, Barb, will you call the roll, please?
Friends,
Yes.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
All right, the last action item is the wastewater treatment plant 2021 primary digester cleaning bid award. And I do see on the second letter, the address is correct.
Yes, Sunset Boulevard.
Same name.
Yes.
Names are-
Yes. All right, so Corey on
Yep,
this one,
so
go ahead.
this is a follow-up item to approve an award to clean out the primary digester. If anybody's familiar, sort of on the back side of the wastewater plant, there's two large buildings that sort of have a stucco facade that's seen better days, to be frank. So the process that they're looking to do, it actually occurred about 5 weeks ago. After the stuff inside of those tanks it goes through a heat exchanger, and that was backed up. Staff found rags and dirt and grime and sand. And so they went back and determined that it was necessary to clean the primary digester. We had originally planned to do aeration tank cleaning this year. There's a specific call out for that in our budget at about $10,000. We are going to postpone that as this came up as a more emergent need, roughly in the same ballpark as far as cost. My understanding from talking with the staff is that the tank will be out of service for about 2 days if all goes well. They actually take the primary sludge and put it into the secondary, and there's about a 3-week process that goes into making sure that can happen, which includes actually doing a sludge haul before this happens. The company comes in, they clean it out, and then they actually reverse this primary stuff back in from the secondary back into the primary, and that will give us more capacity, it'll work more efficiently. It should take care of the heat exchange issues. One of the questions that I asked is, how does the sand get in there? And they noted that the last time this was done was in our big project in 2011, so it has been about 10 years, and that naturally happens over time. But one of the things that came up that council may remember is we had an emergency repair of our grit chamber last year, I think it was, and that is where that's where the first part of the process where the rags and the grit and the grime it's supposed to get out, and so not all of it makes it through there, especially since ours was sort of on the verge of failing and then it was out of service during the repair. That is an opportunity for more of that to get through into the process. So they would anticipate to do that work yet this fall. And I think the biggest thing that they were telling me is just pray for no big rainstorms, because that would, create some issues for this to happen. So
Right.
with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Is there a date, time frame on this guy?
Yeah, so I think they were thinking, there's about 3 things that have to happen before they can do this. The first one, which is taking the stuff from the drying bed out, has happened. They have to do a sludge haul, and then this can happen after that. So the reason being that you have to empty out the secondary digester, which is associated with the sludge haul, but then the stuff that they take out goes to the drying bed, so the drying bed has to be emptied. So it's a really interesting process, there's a lot of moving parts. So I would say sometime this fall is the anticipation.
Okay. And I'm sure Scott's available too for any more detailed questions that Corey might not be able to answer this evening. Yes, Tim?
Yes, thank you. I see that Scott has set up the motion to, for approval, subject to city attorney review as to form.
Yes.
The proposal does incorporate by reference Young's standard terms and conditions. I did pull those up. There are a couple of provisions in here that call for indemnity by the city. These standard terms and conditions are for a wide variety of environmental work that they would do. And what the project that we have is for a relatively small amount of money, under $9,000, and it doesn't involve excavation or concrete flat work or any of the number of other things that they're used to doing, to the point where either we should ask them to modify the indemnity provisions because they still are responsible for their own acts of negligence, and I don't see how the city would be negligent or cause any injury or damage from this project necessarily.
Right.
So I can send a message to Scott on that to see if they would soften the language on indemnity to the extent permitted by law if they don't want to delete it entirely. And if they refuse to do that, then it would be a business judgment of the city to proceed at that point.
Okay. All right, duly noted. With that being said then, do we need to modify the motion?
No.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Tim, I appreciate that. If there's no other questions for Scott, or for Corey to give to Scott or to be able to answer, I'm looking for that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the award of the lump sum bid proposal for cleaning the primary digester at the City of Williamston wastewater treatment plant to Young's Environmental Cleanup for $8,976, subject to city attorney review as to form.
Thank you. Do I have support? Thank
Support.
you. All right. If there's no other discussion regarding this, I will ask Barb to call the roll call.
Gilroy,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Bellinger.
Yes.
Grimes.
Yes.
All right, we do have a discussion item, and we did not add that as discussion item A. We have the letter on our council table, so I think we need to amend the agenda to include the property tax penalty for Betty Engenauer of 435 North Putnam Street.
I mean, at this point, you've approved the
Right.
agenda, I guess.
Or we have this put on to the next meeting, so I guess that's what I would suggest. This letter, Barb, if you can make sure Holly puts it on next agenda. Moving forward then, correspondence received, information only, we did not receive any. So I'll move right along to department head reports for city manager. Corey, you got your memo in here. Anything to add?
I'll just highlight that the planning commission did meet on Tuesday last week. I put a note in there, since Brandon is not here for the committee reports, I'll just give a quick update. So the applicant, local developers, done a lot of work in town, is attempting to build 12 units of multifamily rental style housing out on Raleigh Road, right in the middle of Red Cedar Retirement and Fox Run Court. We had a very in-depth public hearing. We had a lot of public comment before the meeting via written format or phone calls or visits, as well as in the meeting. My personal impression was that it was a very healthy dialogue. There was a lot of good comments, concerns expressed from residents that the applicant's engineer, builder, and the applicant himself attempted to address at the meeting. The purpose of that meeting was to approve, or at least consider approval of a special land use Because the project has more than 5 units of rental, it requires a special land use permit. So after the public hearing, the commission did vote 4-1 to approve it. The next step in the process is the site plan review. So there was a lot of good feedback that was had in this meeting, which affected the site plan, comments from staff, planning, engineering and fire, that they're working on, working into their site plan. So I'm expecting that that will come back at the November meeting, potentially for approval, assuming that they can work to meet all those needs. There's also a couple of issues that are sort of like obscure zoning code things that they need to work through, that may require them to look at like a variance process. So for our, I think Terry or our ZBA rep, or Dan, one of you two,
Dan.
is our ZBA rep, there could be a need for that in the coming weeks as well. So, it's an exciting project. This is a chance for growth in a vacant parcel that really sets up nicely for residential. But, you know, there's definitely some growing pains and concerns expressed by the residents. But overwhelmingly, I really felt like everybody that was here and that I talked to, you know, I just felt like they were trying to understand it better and get to a point where they could, you know, support it even if it was begrudgingly.
Right.
But it was very good dialogue, and I think the planning commission did a heck of a job handling that public comment period.
Yeah, I would have to agree because it was a pretty full house. And I think the bigger concern of the residents in the surrounding neighborhoods was, what was it going to look like? They may have not had seen the drawings or the engineered plans yet, and being able to ask those questions. And I think everybody was very cordial to each other. It was not a highly emotional meeting at all, and Planning Commission does an amazing job anyways when new projects are brought forward. And, you know, we are development friendly. You know, we do want to see our community continue to grow. And I think there were valid concerns about what was it going to look like, what type of rentals were these going to be, and I think Mr. Tice was able to answer that very well. I know that several of the people that came had outside of the council chamber discussion with him, so he was very obliging of that, so I'm looking forward to it coming back for the site plan review. And Noah was there as well. I think, you know, all the I's were dotted, T's were crossed, so that this can keep moving forward.
Yeah, it was very cordial, and a lot of people were concerned about the aesthetics, you know, about trees and about that, and Mr. Tice was wonderful. You know, he doesn't want to take down trees, he doesn't want to do that, but if there is something that he is required to do by city or ordinance, he will do that.
Well, and it'll be more productive during the site plan review too. So that way, all recommendations will be, you know, heard, and the needs of what he needs to do to make sure that it fits, to be conforming. You know, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll move forward nicely. So, any questions for Corey regarding his city manager report that he gave us? All right. Okay, moving right along, we've got Chief. How are you?
Good evening, I'm good.
Great, good. Anything to report?
No, PD's running along nice and smooth, everything's going good.
All right.
And just can't wait for our final officer to graduate from the academy and get him here.
Yay. And what's the anticipated graduation date?
I think it's December 12th, somewhere in mid-December.
All right, excellent. Fantastic. Well, we'll look forward to having you come back, tell us about that, and meeting him. So.
And how's your third crossing guard doing?
She's doing good. We had a lot of positive feedback from some parents. They appreciate seeing that the yellow safety vest up there, and it's getting some traffic attention, and they're slowing down.
All right.
So far so good.
How was this past Friday evening with homecoming in town?
I think it went really well.
Okay.
I was out there, I had one of the corners, and we had plenty of patrol cars out there, and it looked like a great turnout despite
The rain.
initial monsoon that started, but it let up, turned out to be a beautiful night.
Yeah. And then
yeah.
it started raining, so we'll take the win, you know.
An awful lot of candy was thrown out in the streets.
Oh, I think, well, you know, there haven't been a lot of parades, so sure, it was very exciting.
Yeah.
Good.
So it went good.
Excellent, excellent, great. Any questions for Chief? Anybody have any questions? All right, next on our department head report, we've got the treasurer, Rachel. You got like a lot to say tonight.
I do. But thankfully I don't on this item. You have your financials for the quarter, in front of you. As I mentioned with the IT contract, we'll have budget amendments probably coming up in November. If not December, it'll definitely happen in December. But other than that, things are looking good.
Great.
It'd be great if interest rates would go up, but my economists are telling me probably not for at least 9 months, maybe a year yet. But hopefully they're wrong.
Okay, well, come back and tell us when they do.
Yeah.
Any questions for Rachel regarding her report? Okay, all right. We did receive our building department report from Livingston County Building and Civil Engineering Department, who we contract with. So if anybody has any questions, if there's lots going on, and so that's always great to see. But if anybody does have any questions regarding any of the permits being pulled or the certificates being issued, certainly we can have city staff reach out and get those answers. But it's always nice to see a big report back, because that means that growth is happening, and that's a good thing. So,
My only question about that was,
Yes.
why is it that Livingston County is doing this?
okay, so just to bring you up to speed, we had AGS servicing us for our permitting. One thing that we have always tried to do is make sure that we're using taxpayer dollars wisely. And so actually moving to Livingston County is a cost savings for us. And I'm gonna let Corey I'm gonna tee him up with that. So, we made the switch to Livingston County. They do all of our permitting for us because we didn't have anybody in-house. And we've been with AGS for many, many years. And we felt that it was time for a change. And so far, so good, to be quite honest. They're very responsive, very timely. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Covered a lot of it.
Yeah.
There was, really a lot of it was a service level concern, where we were previously and moving to our new building permit. We actually just celebrated a year with them on
Yeah.
October 1st.
Yeah, they came on during COVID. I don't think we've had any complaints
No, it's
as
just,
far as them.
the best thing about them, I think, is that, as Tim is kind of saying in my ear, it's a pass-through, so like,
Yes.
they just handle everything building, trade related. I think it's gone extremely well from everything I've heard. We've actually gotten compliments
Yep.
from builders and
Yeah.
residents.
Well,
about
that-
the building.
We didn't used to get it, and honestly, Corey, it was a cost savings too for the city, and I don't know what the exact dollar amount was with the
Well-
retainer that we used to spend with AGS, but
Yeah.
it was considerable, and it was also about having timely responses. I mean, we would get, and I'm sure city staff can attest to this, we would get complaints that our building permit services were not responsive and difficult. And, like I said, we had a relationship with them for many, many years, but we just kind of felt it was time for a change, and I think it's been a good change.
That was my experience. I did
Okay.
some serious renovations to create an office out of an old single car garage there. And my experience was that the permitting process wasn't that difficult or expensive or anything like that. But the response in terms of getting an inspection and a signature and how we can do the next step, it really lacked.
Well,
That was AGS, because that was 3 years ago, so.
Correct, yep, so we've been with Livingston County for a year. I'd say the nicest thing about them is they're a fellow government, so we have an intergovernmental agreement with them.
Yep.
They're staffed just like we are, 8 to 5 kind of deal. They're not going anywhere, they're not in it to make a profit.
Oh, and they don't have to go from Kalamazoo to
Right,
Port Huron.
right, they're about 20
They're
minutes
Livingston.
away.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they also service a couple of communities in
Yes.
Livingston County,
Yeah.
the city of Brighton and Brighton Township.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good at what they do, and this was really a nice opportunity for us to work with somebody that this is what they do every single day.
Okay.
And, not that AGS didn't, but we just needed to do better for our residents, for residential and for commercial, and I think we really have.
Okay, I just was looking through it and I noticed, hold it, Livingston County,
Yeah.
this is Ingham County, so.
Yeah.
Right.
That does throw people off
Yeah, a little
sometimes.
bit, a little bit.
But once you explain it.
So Ingham County doesn't do this kind of thing, they don't do?
No. No,
Livingston kind of, this is like sort of an entrepreneurial thing for them, or?
I mean, we were their first entity outside of the county,
Yeah.
but
But
they
they've
have,
been doing it for a while, right? I mean,
they do
offering
it in their
services,
county,
yes.
but that's not uncommon, but to go out of their borders, they have a very pro-growth board.
Mhm.
They have a great building official, so they were all for walking along this with us.
Did we seek them out, or did they seek us out?
I think we sought them out.
We
didn't
sought
we?
them
Yeah,
out
you were-
because
You were
you-
looking,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they were one of the people.
Yeah,
we talked to.
I had talked with some of our neighbors, looking to see if there was another government, like, just think about who's around us, that has their own department, and, was coming up short, and I had a connection over there that we had a meeting, and so then it started.
It was beneficial to share and use resources together.
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Dan, do you have a comment?
Oh, I was just gonna say Livingston County, the only interaction I had with them did great. They actually saved me from a kind of a contractor flub. I had, my contractor pulled my permit, but I did not know that the contractor hadn't arranged for the final inspection. So then Livingston County actually realized, oh, you have an outstanding permit and it's good till this date. They sent it out a month ahead of time. I called them the next day and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize my contractor didn't do a final. And they go, oh, well, when would you like us to come out? And I go, well, when are you available? They're like, we're available whenever you're available.
Yeah.
When would you like us there? And then I told them the date and time I wanted to come out, and they were like, oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So it was very good.
Yeah.
My electrical contractor, the final inspection, he had to be there for like 3/4 of a day. So he forewent all of the income that he could have made during that day, almost a full day of work,
Oh, wow.
just waiting for the inspector, twiddling his thumbs, and finally the guy shows up.
Wow. Well, we've definitely, I think we're on the right path with them. So, like I said, it's always nice to see the growth and what we get from them as a report. All right, committee,
Thank you for satisfying my
subcommittees.
curiosity.
Yes, absolutely. So committee meetings. Noah and I kind of went over planning a little bit because of, what's going on, but has anybody else had any meetings that they've attended? No? All right. We'll go right on to audience participation. Another opportunity for audience participation. All right, we're gonna keep going then, and we've got council member comments, and so I will start with Terry this time.
I'm glad that it's okay that I ask questions. I'm curious, I'm trying to figure out how this whole thing goes together. There are lots of moving parts, so.
Sure.
Thank you for being patient with me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Not a problem. Well, thank you. Noah?
No comments for
No comments? Tom?
Nothing for me.
Dan?
No comment.
You know what? I'm gonna follow suit. I think Terry was great with that, questions are always great. Anytime there's questions, and we always encourage, people to participate, and so whenever we can be, transparent, forthcoming, all of that, and it's always a learning process. We're always learning. So, thank you so much for all being here this evening. Just be careful out there. It's getting darker earlier as we've entered into the month of October. Last Friday was first Friday that we've not had in quite a while in our city of Williamston. It was Witches and Warlocks, so downtown was bustling. We also had homecoming, and so things are ramping up for fall. We're gonna be moving into Halloween, where we have trick-or-treating downtown, in the business district. So just be very cognizant as you're out and about before that time change happens, that it does get darker earlier. I saw the leaf pickup this morning, so put your leaves out at the curb. That's a service that the city offers. They will come and pick up your leaves. They'll still come up and pick up branches, so make sure that you do that. If you need to know the city, when the city does that, the calendar is available on the website, or you can call our city offices. So with that, I will go ahead and move to adjourn at 7:59 this evening.